Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Love Lies podcast. I'm Michelle Russo and I am super excited for my guests today. Today we're talking to Jen Glantz, and she is the professional bridesmaid, founder of Bridesmaid For Hire, author of All My Friends Are Engaged and When You Least Expect It. She is also the host of the You're Not Getting Any Younger podcast. So welcome to the show, Jen.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
So excited to talk to you today. I was looking at your videos on your website, and I saw the Today Show spot.
Yes.
At first, I'm glad I watched that one, because at first I had the same impression that they had, thinking like, okay, Bridesmaid For Hire, this is for girls without friends. You're trying to just, match the amount of wedding party that your groom has, but it's not.
No.
It's totally different.
Yes. So basically, shortly put, I show up at the wedding, I wear the bridesmaid dress, I walk down the aisle, I give a speech, I dance on the dance floor. I do everything that a friend would do, except the bride hires me and doesn't tell anybody that I'm hired. So
Nobody knows.
Nobody knows, not even the person that she's marrying. And it's less about...
Oh my gosh, really? The groom has no idea?
The groom doesn't know, her family doesn't know. It's wild.
Oh my God. Nobody questions, like, how do you know? Where do you...
It's so interesting because I thought that that's what happened, but it's true. Like, my mom was showing me her wedding album and I was like, who's that? Who's that? And my mom was like, oh, that's like a friend from, I don't know. Like, I just feel like we all have friends from all over, and sometimes we don't meet them until a big celebration. So most people are like, I've never heard of her before, but I guess that's sort of normal. And they just go with it.
That's amazing. So what brought you to starting the business? Because it is an odd business to start, but actually now that I think about it and saw all the videos, I'm like, this is genius. I need this for me when I get to that point.
Thank you. So when I was in my early 20s, all of my friends got engaged. It was to the point where I was a bridesmaid practically every single weekend. Yeah. And there was one time when two really distant friends asked me to be a bridesmaid on the same day. And I came home, I was telling my roommate, Carrie, I'm like, Carrie, I don't get it. Everyone's asking me. I'm hardly friends with them. And Carrie said to me, Jen, it's because you're a professional bridesmaid. And this light bulb went off in my head. Yeah. And I thought, if I could do this for friends I haven't seen in years, maybe I can do this for strangers. And I did.
So is it more of like a maid of honor that are you technically their maid of honor giving the speech, or?
Sometimes I'm the maid of honor, but sometimes I'm bridesmaid number 5. And she has 4 other bridesmaids, but the bridesmaids are hot mess, or they don't know what they're doing. They're dramatic. They're all these things. And she needs someone to show up and be super there for her, and also sort of ring in the troops from creating all this chaos.
That is so true. I've been in a couple weddings alone just this year. Well, 2018, I should say. And the brides kind of, it is their day, but the bridesmaids are really concerned, like, what do I look like? Does my dress fit? Do I have everything? It's not totally 100% about the bride.
No,
Even
I mean,
the mother of the bride, she's got to get ready too.
You know what? You're so right that it's less about the bride and it's more about the people she surrounds herself with. Because I too have seen bridesmaids go insane because their hair isn't perfectly curled or their dress isn't steamed, and mother of the bride just freaking out over everything. And I think what the bride is leaning more toward is, how do I cut off a lot of this chaos and make the day about me? And it should be. So I started to see that a lot of the weddings I was in for my friends, that bridesmaids were being fired. Like, their real life friends were being,
no.
I would be a bridesmaid for my college friends. And usually every single time there was bridesmaid drama, or one bridesmaid dropping out, or being asked not to be a bridesmaid. And that's when I realized too, this is a serious role and you can't always put it on your friends to do.
And what is the difference between a bridesmaid for hire and a wedding planner?
Oh, it's such a good question. Yeah, it's such a good question, because wedding planners, they do the things, right? They set up the venue, they work with the vendors, they help you make decisions. I am there strictly for the people. So I am there for the bridesmaid like a real friend would be. I help her pick out her dress. I help her go on her bachelorette party, her bridal shower. I'm the personal assistant, the on-call therapist, the social director, the peacekeeper. Amazing. I am the people person.
The ringleader.
Exactly. Because every wedding I've been to, there is people drama, but there's nobody to manage it.
You're the one person there in the group that is not tied to the people whatsoever, so you don't care necessarily, like, you don't care what you look like. You're never going to see those pictures. You're
For sure. For sure. And also, what I've learned in life in my 30 years is that we tell things to strangers we would never tell our best friend. Mm-hmm. And I know that sounds weird, but brides come to me with all different types of problems and questions and things that they wouldn't even tell somebody that they've known their entire life. And I think that's okay. I really think it's okay to have a stranger there to lean on, because you really can't go anywhere else.
That is so true. And you had one that said that she hated the groom. Is that right?
Oh my God. I worked a wedding in Staten Island a couple years ago, and 3 minutes before the wedding, the bride pulls me into a room, locks the door, and says, "Jen, I hate the groom." And at that point, I thought I had heard everything. And here I am like, oh my God, what do I do? But that happens all the time. Like, we hear the stigma of cold feet. Cold feet happens because here's the thing, like, you're in this relationship, you're working toward the finish line, the goal of getting married, and then you're at the goal of getting married, and all of a sudden you question everything. Or all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, like, this isn't right. And I didn't realize that because I was so after this chase of marriage. And cold feet, backing out, it's completely normal. It's just that no one's honest about it.
Oh my gosh, retweet.
Yeah.
I'm serious. I think I have so many friends that might have maybe questioned it and I probably thought horrible thoughts for thinking what they were thinking. But if it's normal. I mean, majority of the brides you deal with.
I wouldn't say majority, but I would say that it is a normal thing. And I had a woman once tell me that when she got married, she was walking down the aisle and she thought to herself, man, this is going to suck to have to do again. Oh, no. And at first I was like, who would say that? But after 4 years of this job, it happens all the time. I see brides hysterically crying as they're walking down the aisle. And I see some that turn to me like, what am I doing? And like a deer in the headlights. And it is normal. You know, it's okay to feel like that. Should you cancel the wedding? I don't know, but I think you should be honest with how you feel because your emotions change, especially when you're at that finish line that most people work hard for in a relationship. I mean, most people enter a relationship with the goal of getting married. Mm-hmm. Maybe like 90% of people, right? So then they get to that goal and they're like, wait, I didn't really want this. Just everybody in the world told me I was supposed to have this.
So true. I know. And those shoulds, they kill you. They kill relationships. They kill goals. Yeah. Everybody goes for what you think you should do. It took me a long time in my 30 years to get to the point to where I finally stopped listening to like all the shoulds that society gave me.
Which is so hard though. Like all of my friends literally got married in their early 20s. They all had kids by their late 20s.
Your friends were like they're out there.
They're advanced.
Early.
They are.
I feel like I'm just now getting to the point where people are.
You're lucky.
I know, and I'm in St. Louis.
I was in Florida, and I think, I don't know why, but I do know that when that's what you're surrounded by, for many years, I questioned what I was doing wrong and why I couldn't just be like everyone else and why I had such issues settling down. And now that I'm 30 and I'm not married, I don't have kids, and they're on kid number 2, I'm thinking, you know what, Jen, you did the right freaking thing because you were not ready for that life and maybe you'll never have that life, but
it's okay.
I'm happy with my messed up life.
I too.
But nobody's honest about that. And that's the problem.
Because everyone is so afraid of what society's going to say.
Exactly.
Or God forbid what their parents are going to say, or if you don't have a baby by 30, you don't have the white picket fence, especially in the Midwest.
Oh, yeah.
Good Lord.
Yeah.
That pressure sits on you probably from like, as soon as you're out of college, that pressure is just like right there. Now what?
It's true.
Now what are you going to do?
I mean, but I think like what helped me was getting good answers to these questions. Like, why are you still single? When are you going to have kids? Or just like you said, hey, Jen, by 30, it's going to be really hard to have a baby. Like, people really say that stuff to you.
Absolutely. Or do you know the risk?
Right.
Have you ever thought about like the risk?
It's insane. It's insane that you're talking about like my, feminine cycle of birth.
And and it failing. And it failing you.
Like, you don't know me in my ovulation.
Let you down because you're 30 now. Are you aware of that? Like,
it's crazy, but like those are truths and people should know they're going to get hit with that. And if you have good answers and you're confident, then cool, live your life.
Yeah. And not take it so serious. You have to have some kind of like emotional barrier wall.
Exactly.
To take all the waves crashing in at every holiday.
Oh my God.
Every family event, or just anytime you see your mom on a Tuesday, if it's anything like my mom.
Right? Like get that mute button handy. But I mean, I think it's also being comfortable with knowing what you want and what your priorities are and never letting anyone shake that. My priorities for most of my 20s was work and building a career and building my dreams. And it's selfish, but I will absolutely never regret putting that over love. I know that I won't.
I think most people are going to that actually. They just came out with a study that the divorce rate with millennials has declined 18%. Do you see that one too?
I did. And I was like, yeah.
I know. I was like, we're doing something right finally. But I think everyone's so super focused on career first, get to where I'm going. and you're just a little bit more independent minded.
Yeah, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. You know, like I will never judge my friends who got married and have kids, and I just hope that people don't judge people in their 30s who are still going after themselves and putting off the other goals. You know, like you need to figure out what's important to you, and then you need to run full force at that, and you never know what's going to happen. Like I never thought I would be in a relationship. I never thought I'd find a person who can complement my life. So I just kept running full speed forward, and then somebody showed up, and I was like, okay,
well, this works. All right.
Yeah, like join the party, but it was never a priority of mine. So plan your life, but then always realize like things could happen, and if they do, cool, you know?
And you also have to be ready to just kind of expect that your friends are going to be in a different place than you. And you're going to have a little bit of a communication issue. You know, I mean, I feel like sometimes my friends are like, oh my gosh, my kids and this, and I don't have anything to talk about. I mean, I don't have anything to bring to the table that's that bad, you know. I don't know what it's like to be up at 3 a.m. with a screaming toddler.
No, but
I sleep through the night.
I do think, and this is a hard lesson I have learned, and I'm sure you have or you are learning, is that your friends change as your life changes. Mm-hmm. And your friends who have kids and are married, when you're not there yet, they still are your friends, but they become sort of, you know, different.
Yeah, it is different.
And then you make new friends who are at that same level of you in life. And that's also okay. Like I really don't believe that everybody should be your friend forever. I think people fit into your life when they should. Mm-hmm. And all of my friends with kids, I love them dearly, but we're certainly not very close anymore. And that's just because that's how life could be, you know? And like, but that's just relationships, is you change and people change, and you know, and I think that's really hard. But I agree. Like I had nothing to bring to the table when my friends were talking about breastfeeding and the color of breast milk. I was like, what? Yeah. I thought it was always white. It's not.
I went out with a group of like 8 girlfriends that I used to cheer with, and each of them have kids. So they're all telling these horror stories about everything that went wrong, postpartum and all this stuff. And my eyes were just like bulging out of my head. I was terrified. And they're like, we should stop. Michelle, are you okay?
You're like, no.
I'm fine. I'm never having a child now.
Right.
Bitches have scared me to death.
Right. But then it's also like, if they're like, you know, it's hard for you to be like, well, I don't have a kid, but I have a podcast and a book and all these things, because like, it's hard for you to also contribute fully to that kind of conversation. Right. You know,
we're just in totally different places. Luckily, our friendship is strong enough to where we can circle back. We can find a common ground on something. But yeah, I don't know the breast milk. I mean, they're talking about all kinds of stuff that I had no idea. And sometimes I'm like, I should stay away from these conversations because they literally will scare me away from having a child.
For sure.
I mean, if you know all the nitty gritty, you're not going to do it.
I know, but now I feel like because I do know it so well from them, I jump into conversations like, oh, did you know this about pregnancy and this? And people are like, oh, how many kids do you have? I'm like,
well, none, but I'm very educated on this side.
None, but I know a lot. You know,
I've got everything squared away.
Don't worry about me. Yeah. But yeah, we know too much for not having kids.
Yes, I totally agree. Well, I'm going to circle back to what you do. So on the bachelorette parties.
Yes.
Because I love this subject that you work with the bachelorette parties too, because the new trend of like, let's all go out of town. Let's take a group of like 12 girls that probably really don't know each other all that well. You know, you get a couple from college, couple from grade school, whatever. Some from work, some that have to be in your wedding because it's your groom's sister, cousin, whatever. You're going to mesh all these personalities and take them on a trip. How's that go?
Oh my goodness gracious. I think it's a mess for so many reasons.
I do too. Who started this?
I just feel like Instagram is to blame for everything. Like, I don't know if that's true or not, but I really do think that's just key, is everyone wants an Instagrammable bachelorette party. But the thing is, this is the number one thing that ruins your friends when they're bridesmaids, is money. You're expecting people to spend thousands of dollars to go on a weekend trip for you, which is probably one of 12 bachelorette parties they have in the next 2 years.
No kidding.
Right.
I mean,
but it's crazy. It's crazy. And like, that's one thing that ruins the dynamic too, is you're blending together friend groups. And that is never an easy thing to do. I mean, like, there's always drama with people. And if you don't have people who are going to help you with that and who are going to make it, you know, calm for other people, it's going to be a nightmare.
So you're there to be like the friendly, level-headed, let's all get along.
I'm there to...
You're peaceful Polly.
I am peaceful Polly, which... again, is such a hard job because I have to really understand different types of personalities, and I have to make people like each other, which doesn't work. Like,
so you got to walk in and you've got to kind of sense where the problem lies? Or does the bride tell you, like, I'm worried about this one and this
She'll
one?
tell me, but the problem when I walk in is I'm the problem. Because people at first are like, who in the world is she? And now she's going to be here trying to be my friend. So problem number one is usually me. Oh, for sure. Really? I mean, imagine going on a bachelor party and the bride's like, meet Jen. Jen and I have been friends for so long. And you're like, but we've been friends for so long. Who's Jen? Why do you seem like you like her? And why is she like having the time of her life? Like jealousy sets in, questions set in. People just get pissed because they're like, also, Jen, you haven't answered any of the emails we've been on. You didn't pay for this. You didn't do this.
Oh,
like,
no.
I've been absent, you know? So like people are generally not happy to see me. But within the first 8 minutes, I have to change that and I have to make them like each other. So I walk into battlefields constantly.
How far do you go to blend it? Like, are you bringing a gift? Are you participating in like the lingerie shower that everybody does now? Are you like buying panties for your clients? Like,
oh yes, I will do whatever it takes. But
to blend
but
in.
Also what I do to get people to like me, which I've learned helps a lot, is getting people things. Like something as simple as being like, hey, what do you all want from Starbucks? And going to Starbucks and getting it turns people from I don't like you to oh, you're okay. Like a simple thing like
She
that.
got me a macchiato. She's all right.
No joke. It takes you from like hating my guts to being like, oh, Jen can chill. Like she's fine.
Right. Yeah.
So like that's sort of been like things I've learned about group dynamics is like when you are on the outside, which whether or not you're a hired bridesmaid or just a friend who doesn't know anybody else.
Yeah.
Doing an act of like, hey, let me prove to you that I care and I want to get to know you sort of does work wonders.
Oh my gosh. Do you have any horror stories from the bachelorette parties?
Yes, because I don't drink and I definitely don't drink on the job.
You do all this and you don't drink?
I am completely sober. So a huge part of it is like just the horror stories of being sober while you're watching people be their drunkest. And I've gotten used to at that, but like it's not fun. So like a lot of what I have to do is put on that smile and, you know, dance on top of bars while I'm stone cold sober and they're drunk off of their minds, you know? So
are you telling them that you don't drink or are you pretending like
I will pretend to drink because like I'll like have the champagne. I got really good at taking a shot glass filled with liquid and tossing it behind my back, like things like that, so nobody knows that you're not drinking.
Well, plus
but
you're on the job too, so I mean, you can't.
But I mean, like the harder part of this profession is like you are on the job during multiple events where people are at their drunkest, and that brings out the worst. So like the wedding, people are at their drunkest. It brings out the worst in them. So a lot of what I do is manage people at their freaking worst, which that's what happens at weddings.
And you think you can never have a child? You're going to be awesome at this.
I think it's gotten me more angry at people. So like I've lost a lot of friends in my 4 years because I've lost tolerance for my own friends, or I haven't been there for my own friends, or I'm not as fun as I used to be. Like I'm not eager to go to a club on a Saturday night because that's my night off.
Probably
you know,
sick of
I'm sick of it, and I'm sick of like all that. And I've lost. So I think I lost like 90% of my real friends from day one to now starting this business. Oh my gosh,
really?
Yeah. And I found like as I talk to other women entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs in general, that's common. And maybe you've experienced this too, as you start all these cool projects, like you suddenly start to lose people for different reasons. And it's crazy. It's just, but that's just sort of how it is.
Some dynamics are changing. I mean, certainly they definitely, people are like, what are you doing? Why are you doing it? How do I support you? What does support mean?
Yeah.
People don't get the blurred lines at all.
They don't. And I spent 4 years working 2-3 weddings a weekend. I never got to see my real friends, and they sort of moved on with their life. And there wasn't a place for me because New Year's Eve I'd be working a wedding or, you know, whatever. So I chose the art of fake friendship over real friendship, and my friendship suffered. And I'm sort of okay with that because this has been the craziest adventure of my life. And some people,
I can imagine.
Some people stuck around, and if they did, you know, I'm grateful for them, I guess.
Yeah. Do you travel for this? I mean, like, you can work with a bride anywhere you go?
Yeah, anywhere. There's some weekends where I have 2 weddings in different states. So I will literally leave a wedding on a Friday night at maybe 2 a.m. and then I'll go straight to the airport, fly to a new city, hopefully get there on time, walk down the aisle, do the whole thing again, and work back to back. and that's common. And that's common.
Okay, one more question. I know I'm like totally picking your brain
No,
on this,
I love
but
it.
what do you do when everybody's getting their hair and makeup done? Do you get yours done too?
Yes, that's like the only perk of the job is that you often get your hair and makeup done. Though sometimes the bride is like, I'm not going to pay for it, so I'll do it myself. So I've gotten very good at like curling my hair in airport bathrooms and putting on fake eyelashes. But
give me I have been putting on lashes. We talk about this with Brian all the time, but it's putting on lashes forever. I still have it. I got a janky one now. There's always
your makeup looks really good, but it's hard. It's like a really good skill. Like I once saw a girl in the New York City subway putting on like eyeliner, and it was like the most incredible thing in the world that she could do that.
I've seen girls doing it in the car.
I wanted to be like,
cat eye.
You deserve a prize for the cat eye on the go. Like
you deserve to be the president. I'm impressed.
I agree. If you could do that, I feel like you could solve every problem we have. I agree. I seriously admire any woman who could do their makeup and their hair in chaos. I really do.
Well, that's every bridesmaid.
Right.
Speaking of bridesmaid, I have been looking for the perfect opportunity to bring up this great story. Have you seen the story about the girl that just went off on her bridal party that did not help pay for the wedding?
Yes. Crazy.
So excited about this because, like I said, I've been just holding out for the perfect chance to get to this. So if you haven't heard of it, I found out her name is Susan, which makes it like a little bit better. I feel like
a Susan would do this.
Yeah. Somebody went on Facebook and commented like, Susan, are you out of your mind? Please, Susan. So Susan had been with her fiance. I think they were dating since they were like 14 years old. And they sacrificed so much for the relationship, per Susan, that they expected their wedding party to all chip in $1,500. What's the big deal? It's $1,500. And they felt totally good and fine asking for that because it makes complete sense. If you cared about them, you would care enough to donate. They started a GoFundMe page. I'm actually surprised. Okay, so 8 people did it and sent checks over. But because people started backing out and saying you're ridiculous, then people started to pull back the money they put in. So the bride goes absolutely nuts. Her maid of honor, who said that she was going to give $3,000, but then later revoked it. After that, she called her maid of honor a filthy fucking poor excuse for a friend.
Love it.
And she couldn't understand why people weren't getting it. She just wanted to be a Kardashian for the day. Damn, Susan. And so I think it was a couple weeks before the wedding, she had to call it off, and she fled the country to go find herself because she was so upset with her friends that would not fucking donate and just give me fucking money for my wedding. Because why would you not?
I wish this was crazy to me, but I'm like, Susan, I totally know you and I've worked with you before, right?
Did you call me?
Susan, hello, call me back, right? I mean, this is just what it's become. I mean, weddings
have you had people that ask to like partly fund the wedding?
Not fund the wedding, but have asked to fund crazy things like, okay, bridesmaid dresses that are $600. Like that's also a little bit insane. Or like they get mad when their bridesmaid can't spend $1,500 on a bachelorette party. Like this is crazy, you know, but like this is just how people are. Like this is how weddings have become. And I think it's completely outrageous. And I personally hate weddings. I've always hated weddings. I never ever liked weddings. Yeah, I'm so open about this.
What?
I did not start this business because I liked weddings. I started it because I like people who are in really tough situations, and that's a wedding.
You're an entrepreneur at its finest.
Yeah, I don't like weddings. I don't like going to them. I never wanted to have one of my own. Like I was never into them. But
so I need to start a spray tan business because they're awful.
There you go. But I think when you don't like something so much, you have a cool perspective on it. Yeah. You know? But like that's the thing is like I've watched them get so out of control. Weddings are not about love. They are not about two people getting married and being in love. They are about how much of a show can we put on so that people leave here and they feel like we are really freaking cool. And that's nothing to do with love.
You are so
It's not.
true.
Because if weddings were about love, you wouldn't get married until you'd been together for 10 to 15 years.
That is so true. Actually, the sweetest wedding that I went to was a friend of mine, and they got married pretty young. They didn't have a lot of money. Their reception was in the like basement of a bowling alley, and we were all like, "Where the hell are?" It was the cutest, sweetest, like most real ceremony I've ever seen.
But that is how to do it. Like, if you want to get married and have a good time at your wedding, do not spend $100,000. Spend the least amount of money you can, because the more money you spend, the more miserable you are. And the more you're stressed out. Like, I agree. The most beautiful weddings I've been to have been in backyards, have been in places where like it was very cheap and they didn't spend any money. But like, that is when I felt the love, you know?
Yeah.
But then I've been to ones that are $500,000 and I want to puke because like the couple I know is going to get divorced in 6 months because it's not about love. It's about how much money can we spend on an 8-hour party.
Can you even say, you probably can't say, but like, do you know? Can you tell with your clients,
Absolutely.
like,
Can
you pinpoint it?
I really think I'm good at knowing people. So I can look at people and be like, you will not make it. However, usually you're wrong because like love is weird and people don't get married for love. This is something I learned on the job, is that a lot of people don't get married for love. And second, like they just sort of want to go with someone that they can deal with for the rest of their life. And that's good enough for them. So while I can look at you and be like, okay, you two are not madly in love, it doesn't mean that it's not going to last.
So true.
I know so many people do not get married for LOVE. They get married for a lot of other things. And I don't judge that.
So if you were to get married, would you elope then? What would your wedding, now that you've seen it all and you've seen the most expensive and lavish weddings, I'm sure, and you've seen the top bachelorette parties and everything, what would you?
I think the biggest thing that I would want is a ceremony where we exchange vows. But if I had my dream wedding, it would be Domino's Pizza. It would be like
because
a live.
They revamped it. I agree.
Oh, yeah. And because I just like cheap pizza. You know, like the thing about wedding food is it universally sucks. You know, it's like the steak and the whatever, but it's not that good. Nobody has food they actually like. Like I only eat pizza. So if I didn't have pizza at my wedding, that would be red flag number 1, you know?
Yeah.
And then I would want like live music from like a high school rock band, like just like real stuff.
You have the best wedding.
Thank you. You're totally invited.
I will
You're
totally
coming.
come.
If it ever happens in this lifetime, you will be there for
I will
sure.
absolutely come. Yeah.
I just want it to be real. Like I want people to walk in and be like, "Oh, this is Jen's wedding," and obviously the person I'm married to, you know.
Yeah.
But I've been to so many that are so cookie cutter. Like there's no rule book that says you have to wear white. There's no rule book that says you have to walk down an aisle or have flowers. Yet everybody has the same freaking wedding. And like my question is why?
Should.
But why?
Because society tells you so.
But like, why don't we question that? Like,
we should.
Why don't we question you throwing a bouquet to a bunch of single women? Like, why don't we question you?
Yeah,
getting a
why
diamond
don't
ring?
we bring all those women onto the dance floor
and
like
bow down to them?
Yeah, like a public display of like, here you go.
Crazy. But like, why do we wear diamond rings? Like, why? And like,
I
think
want to argue that. Jen, I don't want to argue that.
Sometimes I don't want to argue that either, okay?
Everything else out the window, but that should stay.
I know. Part of me is like, a nice diamond, Jen. Maybe you should shut up.
Don't you want to have your arm in a sling just trying to balance that thing?
Yeah, there are some days when I question all of my opinions, but I do think when it comes to spending more money than you have, going into debt, borrowing from parents for an 8-hour party, it's crazy.
Do a lot of your couples pay themselves?
I feel like more and more couples are trying to pay this for
Some
themselves.
sort of portion.
But the thing is, they're using money that like they really don't have. Like credit card debt. There should be a study done on how much credit card debt is happening because of marriage. Like that's what people are putting on their credit cards. Yeah. It's crazy.
Bridesmaids too.
Bridesmaids too. I mean, like I look at my savings account and I blame it being so low because I've been a bridesmaid for my friends, like growing up in my 20s. When most people are saving that money, I was spending it on bridesmaid dresses and trips to Cancun, you know, things I couldn't afford.
Yeah, somebody needs to make some sort of, I don't know, app or something where we can get rid of these dresses. Because, I mean, or transfer them to the next person.
Amen.
I'm in a wedding in June. We were trying on the bridesmaids' dresses, and I see someone else across the corner trying on a dress that I had worn in a wedding a year ago. I'm like, oh, I still have that stupid, like, girl, I will sell it to you for $50.
Right.
I will get it clean for you professionally and I will sell it to you for $50.
I agree.
What am I supposed to do with it? Because every single bride's like, oh, you can cut it and you can wear it again. No,
I have
no,
40.
fuck off, Susan, I'm not going to wear this dress
Susan,
again.
I have
Your dress is
45.
disgusting.
I have 45 bridesmaid
You
dresses.
have 45?
I have 45 bridesmaid dresses. I will never touch them again. Like I look at them.
You keep them?
I have slowly started to get rid of them. Why I kept some is because like it's almost like a treasure chest of memories. But the more
It's just like the movie.
yeah, but the more I'm like, this is sort of odd. Like, so now when friends need dresses, they come to me. My rule is you take it, you don't bring it back. Goodwill all over the country has my dresses, you know, like, but I agree. Like, I think it's crazy that you're making people spend $300 on a matching dress. Like, why in the world do you want all of your friends to look the same? It's wild. It's wild, you know? Like, but that's just what people tell you have to do.
So how would one be the perfect bridesmaid? What do? Do you walk in and just grin and bear it all the way through? Do you try to just give more attention to the bride and not be so selfish?
I really think the recipe for being a perfect bridesmaid is being a good friend. And good friends tell the truth. And good friends say no. And good friends listen to you. You know, like, we try to change. We go from being good friend to bridesmaid, and we change 360. Like, we're like, oh, I have to do everything I'm asked. And oh, I have to be miserable. But like, in a friendship, you're not like that.
Right.
So like, literally nothing should change when you're a bridesmaid. Nothing. And if it does, you need to take a step back and be like, what the hell is going on right now? Like, why am I feeling like this? Because I've seen so many friendships end because they did change, and then the wedding was over and they were resentful. I'm resentful towards so many of my friends who had me as a bridesmaid, you know? So I think like the key is be a good friend and set boundaries. Like, if you can't talk on the phone Thursday at 6 p.m. because you're tired from work, don't.
Yeah.
You know, say no. Learn to say no.
How do you be a less horrific bride? You know, how do you probably not get terribly expensive dresses?
You know, remember that your friends are your friends and they're not hired. So
hire Jen if you need.
But like if you're not hiring bridesmaids, which I know most people are not, then you can't treat your friends like they are. Meaning you can't demand them to do anything. You could recommend, you can suggest, you can ask, but you can't be mad when they can't do it. So like, you can tell your bridesmaids, I want you in this $300 dress, but if you can't afford it, then don't. You know, like, you have to remember that you're dealing with human beings and you can't treat them like anything other than that, you know, especially because they have their own life and their life doesn't stop because you're getting married. Like, most of us are bridesmaids in our 20s when we're figuring out our own career, our own love life, our own problems. And we also don't know how to be there for you because we've never gotten married.
No kidding.
You know?
Cut us a little slack.
Right. And so I think if you're a bride, like, just remember who you're working with here. And if
you're working with single.
You're working with, a single, hard-working women. Yeah. And if that's not good enough, then maybe you have to hire bridesmaids or don't have any. I also don't think that people should have bridesmaids. I know I'm like ruining my business here, but I'm honest. Like, I would never have a bridesmaid. If I got married, no freaking way I would have bridesmaids. Like,
really?
Question it. Why do you have bridesmaids? Why?
So you can help you, but they're really, I mean,
they don't, but they're not supposed to help you because they're not professionals. So it's like, what, to parade your 10 friends down the aisle to show you have them? If I have 10 friends, I want them sitting comfortably wearing their favorite dress while I walk down the aisle, you know? So I think it's like, understand why you have bridesmaids and then maybe decide who would make a good bridesmaid based on that.
Do you have a preference on people that decide to go on like a destination wedding? Because some people are like, that is so rude. Like, how dare you?
You know, I think it's up to the couple and their priorities. Like, if you really want to get married in Mexico, but all of your family lives in like Buffalo, New York, but that's what you want, then you have to be okay with people not coming, you know?
That's my thing too. As long as it's an option, people know.
But like, if that's what you want, go, you know? But you need to think about your priorities. And if your priorities are everybody comes, everyone cares, then you need to do it in Buffalo. But if you don't care about that, go off and live your life, you know?
I'm glad you answered that. I'm the girl that's always like, I would want to get married in Italy.
Then you should go.
I should go. But I mean, everyone would be like, and I've had friends tell me, which not that it matters now, but well, like, how could you do that? How could you expect people to spend that kind of money? I'm like, bitch, it's fictitious right now. It's not, I'm not,
Let's
it's
chill.
not even like, why are you upset now? It's not a real thing.
Like, save your money now, okay? Like,
that's what I thought. Like, I'll give you years.
Right. I'll give you years notice starting now. You have no excuse. But I feel you. I think you should do what you want. You know, it's like, it's your day. It's your day.
It is your day.
It's just a day.
So how can people find you and hire you? And are you totally booked for 2019?
I have a lot of weddings coming up in 2019. I have a team of people who work for me now. So I do less of the weddings and I send more people out for me. But you can learn more about this at bridesmaidforhire.com. It's a real thing. We've worked hundreds of weddings in 4+ years and I have no plans on stopping this. It's still one of the coolest things that's ever happened to me.
Hundreds of weddings in 4 years.
Hundreds in 4 years.
Girl.
Yeah. We've seen it all. And luckily I have people working for me now who are seasoned pros at dealing with it all.
How do you find the perfect employee? You just like pick the friends that you would want to have by your side?
You know, in the past 4 years, I've had 35,000 people apply to work for us. And
are you serious?
At first,
just from knowing what you do and seeing your stuff on the media?
Just from seeing it. And at first, I hired people through those applications, but they didn't always work out. Honestly, some of the best employees I have are friends or friends of friends. Mm-hmm. So they have worked out really well. But some of the people who work for me still are people I just found through the application. So you just never know. But people usually apply and they're like, in the application, they're like, I'd be good at this because I love to get drunk. I love to party. I love to dance. And I'm like, no, you would be terrible at almost anything if that's what you like.
You'd be fired.
Yeah. In fact, like you should be a good party guest, but not, this is like a job, you know? So people apply thinking it's like the time of their life, but then they get in the job. And most people who I hire at around 10 p.m. want out. They're like, this was not what I thought it was going to be.
Really?
Oh, yeah. So if you make it to midnight, you're good.
Because of Bridezillas or just because all the...
It's exhausting. I mean, think about going to a wedding as a guest. You're tired by the end of it.
You are tired.
So then think about going as a guest and working it and dealing with every possible situation that could go wrong and emotions. Like I come home from weddings and I am on the floor crying because I have just seen and dealt with such a range of emotion.
Give it everything you got the whole time.
Right. And
try to hide out who you actually are.
It is one of the most mentally messed up and exhausting jobs you could have. And I don't think people realize that. Like, there's no glamour. It is. But there's no glamour. Like, you don't eat. Like, you're so busy that you don't get to enjoy the wedding. Yeah, you dance for the purpose of like getting people on the dance floor, but it's definitely not as fun as people would imagine.
It's much more than just even being remotely compared to a wedding planner because you're there from bare bones, the whole thing.
You're there to make sure that everybody's having a good time. And usually in the wedding situation, nobody's having a good time. Mm-hmm. So it's all on you to change that. And that is hard and unpredictable.
Yes. Well, okay. Tell me where they can find you on social media because I know I've got friends listening to this right now. They're like, how do I get help?
Yes.
Help me, SOS.
You could find us.
I hate my groom.
Seriously, come contact me. You can come hang out with us on social media at Bridesmaid For Hire. I'm at Jen Glantz everywhere, so come hang out with me personally. But yeah, if you have any questions for us, hit us up because we love answering them.
So much fun having you on
Thank
today.
you so much for having me. It's so great.
It is great. And I will come to your Domino's wedding.
Please. You might be my only friend there, but I like it. You'll be there. We'll have fun.
Well, thank you guys for listening to another episode of the Love Lies podcast, and we will see you next time.